Hello, I'm Dave Peach, and this is the Crawfordsville Peachcast, sponsored by Tri-County Bank, your community bank since 1892. See them in person or at tricountybank.net. Tri-County Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender. Crawfordsville Peachcast, and we are presented by Tri-County Bank, your community bank since 1892. Also sponsored by Central Indiana Rubber, Power for You. Hello, Todd. And we welcome aboard our new sponsors, BK Home Improvement and Zahn's Floor Covering. You'll hear more about them coming up. Today, it is football time. Indianapolis Colts style. We talk to the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor. That's coming up next on the Crawfordsville Peachcast. Central Indiana Rubber Products provides the power for you. Central Indiana Rubber Products, or CIR, keeps farm equipment and local manufacturing processes running with gaskets, belts, seals, and O-rings, among a variety of other products and services. Employee-owned and always customer-focused. Central Indiana Rubber Products, 989 West, 83 North, Crawfordsville, and at indianarubber.com. Central Indiana Rubber Products, or CIR, power for you. It's football time again, and we are on the radio with the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, Matt Taylor. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Good to see you guys again, and happy football's back.
Man, oh man. Well, I don't know. I got to go back. Let's go back. A couple of things. You're at the Lucas Oil Stadium. Comes down to one play, a fourth down play. Didn't go the way the Colts would have wanted it to say the least. But I got to say, how much do you think about one play in the off season, or do you just put it away and move on?
Well, that there was a lot of drama there that entire week, that entire game, and then you're right. It came down to, the Colts were, I think, inside the red zone on that play, that fourth down play, and didn't make it, and that just represents, an eyelash away from the Colts being the team that won the AFC South. Right? Remember, that game was a win and you're in game between the Colts and the Texans. But based on what happened the following day with the Jaguars losing to Tennessee on the following Sunday, that meant that the Texans were AFC South champs. So, that's the margin for error, that game represented. You go from, could have won the division to missing out on the playoffs altogether. And the fact that this team hasn't won an AFC South championship since 2014, that kind of made it, hurt or sting even more. So, the Colts were right there. The Colts could have been the team that everybody's talking about as, it's kind of that same vein as the Texans, the darlings of the NFL, and the team that can really, challenge and make a lot of noise. A team that won the playoffs, or I should say made the playoffs last year with a backup quarterback and Gardner Minshew for 13 games. Just imagine how good they're going to be with, most of the core of their team coming back from last year and a healthy Anthony Richardson. So there's still a lot of unknowns with this team going into the season, but the fact that they were right there last year, and as I said, you've got 11 starters on offense and 11 starters on defense coming back this year, that should give you a lot of hope, a lot of optimism. I think this team's going to be really good, but the fact of the matter is, and not to, throw cold water on those expectations, but everybody in the AFC is seemingly pretty good too. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks and a lot of really good teams, which makes every game coming up on the schedule for the Colts really, really important. And again, the margin for error and the magnitude for all of these games is that it's going to be really, really high. And again, razor thin margin for error.
All eyes on Anthony Richardson and his health. I know you've seen him. What are your thoughts on season 2? And we sure hope all the way to the end and into the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's paramount, and that's what they're focusing on in the back of his head all off season long. And now that training camp has started, it's how do we get the most out of Anthony Richardson while also keeping him available and healthy for 17 games? How does he play smart or smarter, I should say, with the football. And are the Colts going to be a little more calculated on when they draw up plays for him? There's going to be some broken plays or off script plays where he's going to scramble out of the pocket and he's just going to wow people. But I also think this year too, you're going to see more of, maybe take a sack or throw the football away or live to play the next play. That mindset that maybe got him into a little bit of a trouble last year in those first four games. But I know it's a small sample size, but my gosh, what he did last year it's just so tantalizing for his future. If you think about it in these terms, I mean, he played 173 snaps last year, and he accounted for 7 touchdowns, and 4 of them were rushing. So you certainly don't want to take away what makes him special, and that's his dynamic ability, the athleticism, right? If you want to throw caution to the wind and just be really, really conservative and not use him the way that he can be used, then you should have just drafted Will Levis, right? But I think the Colts have a plan for when they can maximize Anthony Richardson's skill set. And listen, there's going to be times where he's just going to have to know the temperature of the game, time and score. There's going to be times where he's just going to have to go make a play, and you want the football into the hands of your best playmaker in those situations, right? Fourth quarter or third down or inside the red zone. He knows he's going to have to kind of put his body on the line and go make a play and win a game for his team. But there's going to be other parts of this season where he knows availability and his health is paramount if the Colts ultimately want to go where they can go with a quarterback of Anthony Richardson's skill set. So that's the biggest thing that we're seeing here in the offseason and the early part of training camp is him trying to put that all together and him understanding just how important he is to this team.
And everybody wants to know, are there the proper players around him so he can thrive in Indy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think this team's ready to go. Again, I mean, I've been covering the Colts now for almost 15 years, and I've never seen anything like it in terms of continuity. I mean, I saw something the other day where 79% of the roster from last year is coming back this year. I mean, that's an absurd number. Again, you got all 11 starters on offense, all 11 starters back on defense, all 5 offensive linemen. You got Jonathan Taylor coming back. You've got Anthony Richardson coming back. Those two guys, Richardson and Taylor, they played a combined 2 snaps together last year on the game field. So I think they've got the potential to be the best running back quarterback duo in the NFL. And I think, on the other side of the football, there's just too much individual talent on that defense to be finishing kind of bottom of the pack in the NFL in terms of overall scoring defense, which has been the case the last 2 years. I think the last 2 seasons, the Colts have finished 28th in scoring defense. So I really think that in year number 3 under Gus Bradley, and you got Pro Bowl players at all 3 levels of that defense, guys up front like Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. Then you throw in a draft pick like Liatu Latu. Then at the linebacker position, EJ Speed, Zaire Franklin. I think those 2 guys have the chance to be the best middle linebacking duo in the game. And then you've got Kenny Moore in the back end and Julian Blackman playing safety. Just way too much talent on defense to be, giving up big plays like has been the case the last 2 years. So I think they're going to put it all together this year. I think they're going to be a really, really good competitive team. And again, it's going to make for all of these Sundays so imperative because they're going to mean a lot. As I said before, all these Sundays are going to go down to the wire. And can the Colts make enough plays in crunch time in the fourth quarter, which has kind of been their Achilles heel the last couple of seasons?
In doing some research, to your point, when you got 79% of the roster back, you look at some online articles. One was about the backup to Jonathan Taylor, and it's Trey Sermon. Now, so we're down to kind of drilling down deep when you're looking at backup to the running back.
Yeah, position. I mean, I just don't think there's a whole lot of holes on this roster. Obviously there's positions that, of course, are deeper than others. The main position battles going into camp are, like you said, the backup running back position. Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson, Evan Hull. But I mean, certainly Jonathan Taylor, I think, is in store for just a monster season because of what Anthony Richardson's threat of him being out there can do to open things up for Taylor. And then I think on the defensive side of the ball, it's in the secondary. It's at cornerback. You've got Kenny Moore the second, who I alluded to. He's going into his 8th season, and he's got 89 career starts. But that trio of guys that are competing for one of the outside cornerback positions, guys like Jalen Jones or Dallas Flowers or Juju Brents. Those three guys have combined for just 29 starts in their career. So you've got some youth and inexperience, and those are camp battles that are ongoing. And kind of the same thing at the safety position as well. You got Julian Blackman, and he's a mainstay and one of your best players and biggest leaders. But then you've got at the free safety position, you go Nick Cross, you got Rodney Thomas. Cross got more playing time towards the end of last year. Thomas's playing time kind of diminished because of that, but both guys are still, youthful, inexperienced. Both guys are going into year number 3. You want to see some more consistency there so that, again, you're not giving up so many or have such a high propensity to give up big plays. So those are the 3 big ones. And then kind of, even more subtle ones after that. It's, who's your backup swing tackle? Who's the guy you can trust to play on the right side or the left side if you get an injury, and injuries up front along the offensive line, as we know, they're pretty inevitable. They're going to happen, and you're going to sustain them at some point. So you're going to need to have that, that one guy or 2 guys you can trust to go in and play multiple positions and have some flexibility about them. Right now, that guy is kind of like Blake Freeland, who was thrusted into that role last year. This is year number 2 for him. He was a rookie last year at a BYU, and he's playing bigger and stronger this year. And it's already showing up in camp. Braden Smith's dealing with a little bit of an ongoing injury from last year. He dealt with a knee problem for most of last season, had off-season surgery, and still kind of working his way back to full health. So it is Freeland playing the right tackle position with the first-team offense so far in the early part of camp.
Special teams last year, you brought on Matt Gay. If you look at special teams and the kickoffs are kind of not what they were 20 years ago, possibly even the punt returning, not what, it just seems like you don't have those punt return specialists, or at least to my knowledge, special teams really comes down to me, punting and field goal kicking. You're the voice of the Colts. I'll let you weigh in there.
Well, I think that the most interesting thing about the special teams for this season is just the new rules on the kickoff. It's going to look kind of funky to the average NFL fan, and it's kind of radical. It's certainly a drastic change from what we're traditionally accustomed to. It's going to look kind of like the XFL kickoff, with some subtle changes, some spacing changes and nuances that the NFL has made. But it's going to be more exciting. And last year, by and large, for the most part, around the NFL, that was kind of for lack of a better term, that was kind of like a go to the bathroom play. You kick the ball off, the receiver would catch the ball in the end zone, accept a touchback, and then it'd be 1st and 10 at the 25-yard line, right? Just kind of a formality. In fact, the Colts last year, they were tied for the fewest kickoff returns in the NFL last year. They only had 9 total kickoff returns for the entire season. So I think it's going to be more exciting. There's going to be different ways to, start the play. There's going to be, without getting too in the weeds, there's going to be different consequences for, where you kick the ball. If the ball goes in the end zone, there's going to be a touchback at the 20-yard line, or if you kick the ball out of bounds, it's going to be a kickoff, or I should say a touchback at the 40-yard line. So there's going to be some getting used to it by the fans, and there's going to be some education needed for the fans based on what happens with the football and in terms of the where the play from scrimmage happens for the offense after the kickoff. So it's going to look funky, but I think it's going to be more exciting, and that's what the NFL wants. They want more excitement from that play while also keeping it safe. That's paramount in their eyes as they make these changes. So I think it's going to be fun, and I think teams are going to have to evolve and adapt based on what's successful. Because right now, you got 32 teams that are practicing this that have never done it before. And inevitably, there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that kind of gain a leg up and get a big advantage by doing it a certain way. and then it's just going to become a copycat league. So, the way it looks, weeks 1 through 4 is certainly not how it's going to look, I don't think, in the month of December going into the playoffs.
Well, the wheels will be turning on that. And we look at the AFC South, and, got to say, not the sexiest division in the NFL, and certainly, win a few Super Bowls down the road, and that might change. But for now, I look at the AFC South, it's kind of like a phone booth battle. I mean, it's so balanced. You've got Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. It's time for him to break out, right? You've got a new coach, Brian Callahan in Tennessee, and then Houston, the big surprise team last year, and the Colts, who were one play away. So this is a pretty compelling soap opera, if you will.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And, to your point, I think nationally, the last couple of decades, the AFC South has not been looked upon, favorably or sexy. I mean, you go back to the Peyton Manning era, they were dominating the AFC South and winning it every year and, going 12-4 and hosting a playoff game. That just hasn't been the case for the Colts, the last decade or so, since 2014. As I said, their last division championship. In fact, in that time, every single team in the division, the 3 other teams, have won it at least twice. So everybody around here is getting kind of anxious about that. They know what time it is. And again, I think they have found, stability with this roster, certainly stability at the quarterback position. But I think it's fair to say that the AFC South is probably across the board on its most solid footing, maybe ever. Certainly, the Houston Texans, they think they have their best teams since the infancy of their franchise, right? They didn't come into existence until 2002, and they're not going anywhere with Coach Ryans and, a really solid roster. And I thought a really good offseason by them and CJ Stroud. And also, to your point, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, who were the AFC South champs the year before and started off so strong last year. I think they were 8-3 to begin the season. And I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff like they did last year. I don't see them losing 5 of their last 6 games any longer. They're just too good. And, obviously injuries kind of derailed their season. So I don't see that happening. And I actually think that Tennessee is going to be way better than people think. I like their roster. I think it's deceptively pretty competitive. I'm more of a believer in Will Levis than most. So it's going to be a gauntlet, man. And you look at the schedule for the Colts. You play 3 straight AFC South games on the road in the month of October. And then after that, the back half of the season, sees you only playing 2 division games, really past Halloween. So again, your margin for error inside the division is going to be at the forefront at the beginning of the season. They need to get off to a good start, but they got to get off to a good start in the division so that they're not playing catch up towards the back half of the season when they don't get those opportunities, to have games act as 2 for 1, right? You win, they lose, that kind of thing in terms of the math. So it's going to be so much fun this season. I can't wait for it. I wish we were playing tomorrow, but we still got a ways to go to get through training camp and the preseason to set us up for what's going to be, I think, a really good battle right away at the beginning of the season. Week 1, Colts Texans at Lucas Oil Stadium, a rematch of Week 18, kind of the return of the scene of the crime, if you will. So everybody around here getting really amped up and excited about that.
Look for the Colts to make a big playoff run this season. Matt, again, thanks.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts.
Are you looking for great prices? Do you have a smartphone? Of course you do. This is Bria French. With Tri-County Bank's Merchant Discount Network, you can get discounts on food, entertainment, tools, and so much more. All you need is a smartphone and your TCB Smart Rewards checking account. Cost savings are only a click away. Terms and conditions may apply. Tri-County Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Big thanks to Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, for once again joining us on the Crawfordsville Peachcast. I think he is now a 3-time contributor to the podcast. He'll get a commemorative button coming up later on this month. We'll probably present that to him. We'll probably mail it to him. I think, we could have a ceremony, but to save some time, we might just mail it to him. Now, taking a look at those home games for the Indianapolis Colts this season, and, if you look at these games, I think it's the most attractive slate of home games the Colts have ever had. Now, of course, there could be Dallas on there. I mean, you could have Dallas on there, maybe Green Bay. But when you look at Houston, divisional foe, Chicago, the Bears, and who doesn't like to go see the Bears? I mean, Bears and Colts, that's a great game. Then those Steelers, the Steeler fans will turn out for that. It's a big game. Then you've got Miami, and you think about Don Shula, Larry Zonka, Bob Greasy, Dan Marino. I mean, your memories just flood back when you talk about Miami, and they're pretty good this year too. Made the playoffs last year. Then you've got Buffalo. My goodness, Josh Allen and everybody with Buffalo ready to go for a Super Bowl, and somehow it doesn't work out. We'll see what happens this year. The Colts will have something to say about that on November 10th. Then you've got the real sleeper team in the NFC last year, Detroit, and they're expected to vie for a championship. Detroit, one of those teams, they've never been to the Super Bowl. Am I correct? I believe so. They've never been to the Super Bowl. Tennessee on the 22nd, and then Jacksonville. So you got those divisional games late, and will it come down to Jacksonville? Who knows? It seems like it always comes down to the final game for the Colts, and they're not alone. I mean, that's the way the NFL is built. You've always got something to play for with the way they've got the playoffs structured. You're always trying to get up a notch, get a home game, win a division, make the playoffs in some cases, but again, it is all for fun. In the NFL, the season starts on September the 8th for the Colts when they entertain Houston. Crawfordsville Peachcast, we are presented by Tri-County Bank, your community bank since 1892. Also, Central Indiana Rubber. Hello, Todd, and welcome aboard BK Home Improvement and Zon's Floor Covering. I'm Dave Peach. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the Crawfordsville Peachcast, sponsored by Tri-County Bank, your community bank since 1892. Tri-County Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender. Tune in Thursday for a new episode on Apple or Spotify, and please like, subscribe, and download the Crawfordsville Peachcast. This podcast was produced and edited by Up Their Media and is a presentation of Fork Broadcasting Digital. I'm Dave Peach, inviting you to join me next week.